Hello and welcome to this video. Today I want to share with you all about my first 2 months of early retirement. After years of hard work, I finally decided to retire early and live life on my own terms. This is an exciting new chapter in my life and I'm eager to share my experience with you all. Week 1 to 2. The first few weeks of my early retirement were filled with a mix of excitement. I was excited to finally have the freedom to do what I want and when I want. I wasn't nervous about how I would fill my days because this was something I had been looking forward to. I'm not ashamed to say this, but I had a wonderful time sleeping in daily without my internal alarm. My body required rest, healing, and I wasn't going to deprive it. My daily routine was simple. Wake up late around 10 to 10:30 a.m. Bathe, potter around the house, doing basically nothing, playing with my son. I also listened to a lot of audiobooks I had borrowed from the library. Week 3. During the next 5 days, the universe decided to test my resolve. You know how it is when you have taken a major decision, a major life decision, and you have determined that you're not going back no matter what. And then some few days or weeks down the line, some things start to happen. The universe starts to throw some things at you just to test if you were serious or you had not yet made up your mind fully. So I had 4 recruiters reaching out to me regarding some interesting roles based on my experience. I also had an old boss reaching out with an offer with an open-ended clause to think about it and come back whenever I was ready. Some of these recruiters I reached out to immediately, based on routine and habit, especially when they call out to you, when they reach out via LinkedIn. And I later discontinued the discussion since I was determined that I was going to I was determined. I had made up my mind that this was it for me in terms of early retirement, no going back. All these interesting offers popped up immediately. I made a decision to retire early. Imagine how the universe works. I didn't bother catching up with friends as I was aware they're busy with their careers while I was on a new trajectory. Phone calls and WhatsApp are a great way to check in with the family and friends during this phase. Week 4 to 5. The next few weeks were dedicated to renovation works for the house I was moving into. The entire house and compound needed some extra works. I also had to consider what kind of greenery I wanted within the compound. I went scouting for a school to enroll my son in. We attended a 2-day play date session for assessment, which I paid 25,000 naira for. I later shelved the idea of school, making the decision to homeschool instead. The homeschool thingy has been a steep learning curve but highly insightful as well, and I will talk about it in subsequent videos. I also listened to a couple of audiobooks related to early retirement, and the knowledge shared by these authors were quite insightful. For instance, Robert Kiyosaki in his book Retire Rich, Retire Young talked about the one advice he was given by a friend after retiring. His friend had told him to take a 1-year break doing nothing. He made mention he found the initial months frustrating as he couldn't stand being idle, but the waiting period actually led to the development of what we all know as the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. To think he had a draft for this book in his car boot during his waiting period before making the decision to focus on finishing it. Quite wonderful. Week 5. During the next 5 days, I started to think of other creative ideas and actually registered a business with a friend. We're in the early days of building a community while I have focused on the marketing communications required. At this point, I am thinking if we move too fast as it's an emerging sector, but we remain focused on getting the community going. Whatever and wherever we land this year, I'll consider it a learning curve, seeing I have decided to do something during my waiting period. I might be making the same mistake as Robert highlighted in his book, but it's a learning curve I'm willing to go with. Living a well-defined career trajectory is like shedding your skin. This can be a painful and introspective journey as you suffer a loss of professional identity. My professional identity has been a part of my life for a very long time, and it's one question you answer all the time when meeting new people. Losing that and being happy with my decision took some time adjusting to. The realization hit me as I was walking into a grocery store, ruminating on how I didn't have to worry about where the next income was coming from. This filled me with a sense of gratitude towards the universe. Week 6. The next 5 days were dedicated to reviewing Montessori tools required for homeschooling. I also fit in a trip to the local museum with my son. It's therapeutic, navigating Lagos within the hours of 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. without its heavy traffic, and it allowed me to see things from a different perspective. Week 7 to 8. I have actually revived my Fit Farm schedule, and now I have the opportunity to go for daily walks with my son. It's also educational for him because he tends to observe his environment. We also learn along the way. We do a lot of counting, we do a lot of phonetic sounds, and I also tend to lose weight and keep fit as well. And he also uses that's a 1 hour period to also shed a lot of boundless energy, which young toddlers usually have. So it's been an interesting one. My first 2 months were really interesting. I rested. I slept like I never slept before. I actually slept. I did a whole lot of sleeping. I slept and basically did nothing. But the one thing that struck me was how while listening to these audiobooks and the wisdom that these various authors were sharing, it struck me how the 9 to 5 corporate world is an illusion in terms of we are not aware of what's going on around us. We are basically shielded from the reality of our day-to-day life, what we should be focusing on. So one good thing this experience of early retirement has taught me was that I focused on. So as I was saying, you actually realize that you had lost track of time, you had lost track of what you should actually be focusing on, your interests, things that you're interested in. It's not as if the corporate world is bad. While it gives you the assurance of a month-on-month paycheck, and of course an elevated lifestyle depending on where you are on the career ladder, whether you're a young executive or a mid-senior, executive. The most important thing is at the end of the day, when you finally leave work, you would find out that there were some aspects of your life you really never focused on because you were consumed by the work. And because the corporate life is so demanding, you have a lot of timelines, schedules, demands, that projects that need to be done on time, and they need to be scaled efficiently and effectively. So you're basically, it's like being on a treadmill. You're clocking day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. And it wasn't until when I made that decision to retire, and after reflecting on the first 2 to 3 months of early retirement, that I realized that, and I could, some of the wisdoms that were being shared by these authors resonated with me, that I actually made the right decision, and I could live life now based on what I was able to acquire while I was working. I could now live life on my own terms without necessarily having to rely on a monthly paycheck. So the final few weeks of my first 2 months of early retirement were dedicated to reflection and planning. I took the time to reflect on all that I had accomplished and think about what I wanted to achieve in the future. So, and I have also set some goals for this year. They are not definite goals. They are goals that are meant to change and evolve based on what happens on a month-on-month basis. So basically, that's what I did within my first 2 months of early retirement. Like I said, it's been an exciting and fulfilling journey so far, and I can't wait to see what the rest of this year holds. I hope that my experience has inspired you to think about your own early retirement goals and plans. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And by the way, subscribe. Bye. Renovation works for the house I was moving into. The entire house and compound needed some extra works. I also had to consider what kind of greenery I wanted within the compound. I went scouting for a school to enroll my son in.